Hello, everybody. Tidus Shot here, and this is Tidus Talk, the podcast where we interview other content creators from Twitch and YouTube. This is episode 23, I believe, featuring our special guest, Tigidy. How are you doing, Tigs? Of course. Thank you for joining me. So for those who haven't been here today, like I said, interview podcast series, we're going to talk about his Twitch channel, topic of discussion, a little bit of what's going on in gaming news, and you guys are welcome to ask questions as well. For anybody here live on Twitch, feel free to do !point raffle in the chat for a chance to win a gift sub to Tiggs' channel. Other than that, we'll get started. I usually like to start about how I found about your channel, and Rosie here is in the chat and Twitch, and she's the one who pointed me in your direction. I started asking people, I went out on Twitter and said, who would you like to see me interview? And Rosie is the only person who responded, and she gave me like 4 names, and here you are. So, started following the channel, really like your channel. You're very positive. The energy is just like in abundance, which is a good thing. You don't often see that necessarily on Twitch. A lot of people just sit back, mellow, and play games, but you've got an energy about you that it's kind of infectious as well. So I like it. Yeah. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Tigidy is not muted anymore. So, Tiggs, why don't you tell us a little about yourself for those who don't know who you are?
Yeah. First of all, seriously, man, thank you so much for inviting me on board. I'm very thankful to get to catch up and get to chat with everyone here today.
Absolutely.
Hi, everyone. You can call me Tiggs. I've been streaming on Twitch for about 2.5 years now. I started playing Animal Crossing New Leaf. And it's kind of crazy just how things have grown and how fast time has gone by. The reason I first started playing on Twitch just because, not many of my IRL friends played New Leaf anymore. So, and that was kind of the push to me getting on this platform, I guess. And it's been pretty insane seeing how much things have changed and how things have grown along the way. And I'm thankful to be a part of this entire journey, this entire ride. So
yeah, and his topic of discussion does involve Animal Crossing and how it's evolved on Twitch, so we'll talk a little bit more about that later.
Yeah, for sure.
And like I said, anybody who's here, feel free to ask questions in the chat and !point raffle if you want to win a sub to Tiggs' channel. So we'll go ahead and get started with the standard questions. So how long have you been gaming? I might take this question out because most people it's just like my whole life. So, but we'll see. Is it more of a recent thing, or have you been your entire?
That's honestly a good question. I personally think you should keep it in.
Okay.
I actually started gaming when I was around 5 years old. Except I never had a gaming system. I always watched my cousins play on their own systems. A lot of the cousins I had were older than me. Even some cousins were younger than me and had games before my brother and I. So we kind of experienced video gaming vicariously through them. And surprisingly enough, I honestly just enjoyed watching them play for the most part. The first game that I remember experiencing was Ocarina of Time on the 64. That actually, my brother was here not too long ago, and he kind of had the photo of just the two of us sitting and just watching the screen as my cousins were playing, just in complete awe, bro. And looking back at it, the very first system that we had was an NES. It was my aunt's old system, and she passed it down to us. And with Mario Bros. 3 and like Who Framed Roger Rabbit for the NES and X-Men. And we were then blessed with our very first Game Boy Advance when I was about 7 or 8. So, but yeah, that's kind of where it all started. And that was the snowball effect. It kind of just grew and grew until,
It's kind of interesting. As you were describing it, it's like Twitch before it was Twitch. You were watching and interacting with somebody playing games without playing yourself. So it's like, well, that sounds like Twitch.
Dude, honestly, that's a very good point. I didn't even think of it like that.
What are some of your favorite games and genres of games?
Oh, man. The first genre that comes to mind is action-adventure. I'll always give myself the chance to revisit the Legend of Zelda series. that is where I first started, and I love that type of experience. I think, there are so many different sides of action adventure. There's the gameplay aspect and the new mechanics that Breath of the Wild introduced, but then you have games like The Last of Us that are action adventure that are just it's like a movie. It's like you're a part of that experience. You are those characters. That is your dialogue, and I'm just in awe through all of it. That's kind of where I default to in games, but one of my other favorite genres is simulation games, but mostly Animal Crossing. That's a series where that was my escape, and that's also what I would rather just plug in and play right off the bat and live in that world. Not exactly action adventure, but it's still a type of different world,
right?
So
are there any Zelda games that you haven't played, or have you played like every one of them?
I haven't played the Philips CD games. Those are the ones I haven't played.
I didn't even know those existed. So.
Oh yeah, dude, those are so scuffed. That was when Nintendo had a very brief partnership with Philips CD. Those are very interesting ones. But I'm trying to think the mainline Zelda games that I haven't played. I honestly can't think of one. I haven't beat all of them, I will say that. I got to go back and revisit them, especially as a kid. The ones that I played, I haven't really committed as much at the age of 7 or 8. But a lot of those I want to revisit. Oh, Spirit Tracks I haven't played.
Oh, wow.
My brother has that one, and I haven't really booted it up yet. But
Rosie says, in RPGs like Dragon Quest, how did you discover this game?
Yeah. Oh, Rosie, I'm thank you for asking that question. I first got into Dragon Quest, not through a Dragon Quest game itself, but a game called Chrono Trigger. And I think that the introduction to Chrono Trigger kind of goes into the Nintendo podcasts, or the podcasts that influenced us. Maybe I'll save that portion for that discussion.
Okay.
But Chrono Trigger got me into it, and it's by this. It's a collaboration of the Final Fantasy creators and Dragon Quest creators, and the fact that they were able to produce something like that from two different sides of the JRPG spectrum and create a pinnacle of the entire genre. Yeah, that's what got me into it, and it's something I'll never forget. I still have it. I literally take that game with me everywhere I go, case and everything, all in box, safe.
All right. What are some of your fondest gaming memories?
The first one that comes to mind was really in Rhode Island. My aunt and uncle used to live out in Rhode Island, and sitting in their basement playing Ocarina of Time. Yeah, my brother and I would wake up our older cousin. I think he was still in college at the time, so he wasn't. I mean, who gets much sleep during college anyway? We would storm down the basement because I think he let us sleep in his room and he would sleep down in the basement. Yeah, we stormed down to wake him up, and we'd like, oh, let's play Zelda after we had our breakfast, and he was just like, all right, let's play. But yeah, that's definitely one that stands out. Another one would be, during summer vacation from, in between elementary school and middle school, having the Legend of Zelda walkthrough guide. That I think my brother and I kind of had a tradition to collecting the walkthrough guides at a younger age. That was like a holy text, man. that was something the way I look at it, the game didn't leave. The game wasn't turned off when the system turned off. We brought those books everywhere. Even driving back home after visiting family, I would scroll through and look through every page, all the pictures. I mostly looked at the pictures.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to spoil most of the game at that point.
Right.
But, but I loved looking through the player guides and really taking that all in. And especially Wind Waker, I got stuck in a few places, so it helped in that sense. But
I never finished Wind Waker. I need to go back.
it's a long game, dude. Looking back, I mean, it still holds up after all this time.
Yeah, I see people constantly replaying it.
Yeah, it honestly, it's a huge mark on the Zelda franchise. It's so different, but it's such a beautiful footnote in the series.
All right, we had a couple questions come in. What's your favorite memory from streaming on Twitch? Oh. What's a favorite? A favorite, not the favorite, but a favorite.
Yeah, there's so many, man, and I'm trying to think of one that really stands out. I think the most recent one that I had was my brother finally being on stream. He was one of the figures in my life that he was there from the beginning. He's like, dude, if you want to try it out, do it. But if you're gonna do it, like, go hardcore. Like, do it. Like, put your 100% into it. And you know, of course, that was hard balancing with a full-time job at the time. But those words kind of, I really took those words to heart, and I think it really paid off. He was on the show on Halloween, and we went through some of his collection pieces and stuff like that. Another one that stands out. See, it's funny that some of my two favorite moments were when my family was involved.
Oh, like, that's pretty nice.
My mom and dad kind of broke into the cabin and surprised me with the birthday cake on my birthday.
Oh,
that's another moment that stands out. But I think another one was, I think one of the very first KK Slider Saturday nights from New Leaf. It was the very first week that I started streaming New Leaf. And that was the first one I had, like, some, you know, viewers come over, like, all hang out, explore my town, and some people would dig up a lot of parts of my town, you know, just to troll me. But it was fun, and that's a stream I won't forget. I have those screenshots from New Leaf in game too, and it's good to look back at those once in a while. But yeah, that one I'll never forget for sure.
Very cool. What are some upcoming games that you're looking forward to playing? If there are any.
It snuck up on me. Age of Calamity kind of snuck up on me.
When's that coming out? I forget.
That's coming out actually a week from yesterday, on the 19th. Oh, sorry, the 20th.
20th.
I have this bad habit of thinking a game comes out the day before it actually does, because that's the midnight release.
Right.
So I kind of spend the whole day just celebrating and prepping for it. So I think of it as a day early. But yeah, Age of Calamity is the next one for me. I will say, like, it was Age of Calamity and Mario 3D All-Stars that really caught me off guard.
Oh,
because
yeah.
Nintendo only gave us like a month notice for 3D All-Stars, and just this, you know, a little bit longer for Age of Calamity. But they've been dropping these huge announcements within a short amount of time of launch, and I'm like, I gotta prepare myself, man. I'm not ready for this stuff yet.
I wonder if that has to do with everything going on, like the lack of trade shows like E3 and whatnot. You know, they don't have the big platform to announce it, so they just gave it time, and then boom, hey, guess what?
It's so true, man. Like, that's one of the, I mean, I do miss trade shows for the most part, but I'm glad that Nintendo can kind of go at their own pace.
Right. And they usually did anyway, to be fair.
True. Very true.
E3 was the only one, and they weren't even at E3. They just had an announcement. Always had a director.
You're not wrong. Actually, looking back, yeah, they kind of went by their own pace anyway. So, but yeah, I'm really excited for Age of Calamity. Just to experience that, the prequel of one of the greatest games of the decade. Like, bro, it's gonna be awesome.
There was a demo, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Did you play it at all?
I haven't touched the demo yet.
Okay.
I know. As excited as I am, I haven't really given myself the time to really sink my teeth in and experience that yet. That also comes with, I feel like that also comes with being a streamer slash attempting to become a YouTuber, trying to see what gameplay and what things you want to focus on. And I've just completely lost track of Age of Calamity.
It makes sense to me because if there's a game I'm really looking forward to, no matter what, then why play the demo and just experience it first with the whole game?
Right. That's kind of what I was thinking too, man. But I guess a lot of people are like, dude, just play it. Do it. Start. I'm like, all right, fair. I see where that's coming from too.
All right. So what games are you currently playing on and off stream?
I will say, currently right now on stream has been strictly Animal Crossing for the most part. I tried to finish Luigi's Mansion. I was playing Luigi's Mansion 3 early and late October. For the most part, I've tried to beat it by Halloween, but that didn't really work out the way that I originally intended. It's a lot longer than I expected, especially compared to the first Luigi's Mansion.
Oh yeah.
I was really loving Luigi's Mansion 3 a lot. It was so great to explore. But I haven't really given myself the chance to revisit it until I bring it back on stream. But recent streams have been me really trying to crack down on my Animal Crossing town. I think, I've mostly been playing Animal Crossing on and off stream, and that's really about it. Especially as of November 1st. The reason why I'm kind of at that point right now is because ever since late September and, really all through November, they have added so many different types of furniture pieces that I've really tried to collect. And I'm still lacking a few mushroom DIY recipes. But I think what's bringing me back into Animal Crossing right now, like wholeheartedly, is the ability to customize and keep your town looking fresh based on the season. For Halloween, for all the spooky furniture sets and the spooky towers, I've really tried to really change up my what was once a summer vacation getaway island to keep things fresh. And recently I've tried to kind of focus on my method of decorating in game. Animal Crossing has been a game for me where it's my escape. I just love going fishing. I love collecting fossils. I love, just getting chores done and playing at my own pace. But recently, with these new furniture updates, and especially with what's to come, I think on Monday the 16th, they're adding a whole different set of furniture pieces. So I'm like, I gotta get ready, man. I want to really change up my town and keep up with the changing seasons, and therefore working my decorating muscles. And that, I think I've been more motivated now than ever with any Animal Crossing game. I've really, I love nothing more on my free time right now is watching other Animal Crossing videos at the moment. Just absorbing everything in and watching what these other creators are able to accomplish in such a small space. I'm starting to think my island is a lot smaller than I initially thought. So the thing that I have to master is using that space and the furniture that I have to the best that I can make it. Rosie, that's a great question. I've played a little bit of Happy Home Designer, but it didn't really scratch that itch. It didn't really hit me the way that New Horizons is hitting me right now, because it's the fact that I can have it in full HD, and it was a lot harder for me to share it on my 3DS, with screen sharing on streams and stuff like that. But now, seeing all these brand new creators and designers and members of the AC community has honestly, I'm like, yo, they can pull that off? Wait, what? That looks amazing. And stuff like that, I want to find my own method of designing and decorating and see what kind of personal touch I could add in my own way.
Right.
And so that's what I've been really trying to crack down on. And I'm honestly loving it. And as much as I have been wanting to play another game that's one of my favorites, Part-Time UFO. It came out. It was like a shadow drop from the last partner Nintendo Direct, and I played that game on my phone for years. HAL Labs actually had it as a mobile game, like 2 years ago, I think. And I'm finally glad that game was on the Switch, but I haven't touched it because fall DIYs are here, and there's only a certain amount of time I can get them. So,
I like how you were talking about the Animal Crossing and design, because a lot of people, will complain that there's not enough space and they wish there was more space for them to do stuff with, as opposed to some people like you were just talking. Instead of complaining about that, you take it as a challenge and see what you can do with that space.
Bro. Exactly. And that's what I love about it. I know that a lot of people, one of the things that people have been not really complaining, that's not really the right way to say it. They've been expressing that they don't think New Horizons is, worth the $60 price tag. I've heard that argument. I've seen where they're coming from, and I can understand to an extent. But with the amount of things that you can do, the amount that you can truly customize your town, that's worth the price tag in itself, man. That whole new mechanic and the
updates throughout the year,
exactly,
that are free. They don't cost any extra.
Yeah, right. So that's what I'm really sinking my teeth into, and I'm really enjoying it. And it in turn has made me realize and remind myself how much I love this series in the first place. It kind of reminded me of where I started playing Animal Crossing in Wild World. So it's good that, despite all these huge changes New Horizons has brought, and despite the things that they're lacking in terms of like villager dialogue, certain NPCs that should be returning eventually, this different side of the game that I never really delved into at first is bringing me back and reminding me that, like, hey, it's still Animal Crossing deep down.
It's a little up. Mama Corey said, "What would you like to see out of a winter update?"
Oh, winter update! First of all, Mama Corey, it's good to see you. Winter update. Oh, part of me was thinking, I was like, oh, let's see, but no. First thing that comes to mind is the Roost. The Roost, for those of you that don't know, it's actually a lot of New Horizons players that just started with this one don't really understand what the Roost is. The Roost was a whole cafe dedicated to just having coffee. It's a place where you can just really just take in the environment, the atmosphere of that cafe, and it was such a kind of, looking back at it, there's not really much to do in the Roost. At least in previous games. I know in New Leaf they added a whole different menu system and taking orders and stuff, but it was just a good little corner in Animal Crossing where you could live life vicariously through these characters and order a cup of coffee. And it was the most heartwarming and, little tiny detail that they added that added so much heart into that game.
Oh yeah,
that's what I want in the middle of winter.
My wife keeps asking me, he's like, have they announced Brewster yet? Have they announced Brewster yet? It's like, no.
Yep.
No, not yet.
We're still waiting patiently. But I'm probably more vocal than others in waiting.
Random question thrown out there. If you could replay any game for the first time again, what would it be?
Ocarina of Time, 100%.
Easy one.
Yep. A part of me thinks that Breath of the Wild would be up there too. But to experience Ocarina of Time not really knowing the music, I'm jealous of brand new players at my age that haven't touched Ocarina of Time yet. Then again, I know it might not have that same feel, knowing that it's not as nostalgic.
Right.
But I think what's important for new players to understand, looking back at the older graphics and, maybe it's a very new targeting system that they introduced in that game. I think it's important for new players to understand the context and the impact that game had on gaming in general. So I think knowing that much, it would be a very rewarding experience to go back and experience that for the first time. That didn't make much sense, but you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. So I see a lot of Animal Crossing questions. That's actually partly into our topic of discussion, which is coming a little bit later. So we'll save those. Remember them. Ask them again when we hit that, and it'll be a more part of that discussion. So we're not rehashing things, if you guys don't mind. So now we're kind of getting into the streaming part. So how do you go about choosing, or how did you go about choosing your Twitch name?
Oh man, my Twitch name goes all the way back to 2014. I've stated this a bunch of times on stream too. It all goes back to I think it was a few nights after Super Smash Bros. 4 came out for the Wii U, and it was me, some of my buddies from high school, and we were driving to pick up my younger brother from college. He just finished one of his last finals, and excuse me, we at this point, I think I just gotten back. I've just gotten back home from New York City, and so I was already drained. I was already so low energy. I was like, all right, let's pick him up. Let's just get back home and play some Smash. And as we're driving towards the campus, my buddy from high school, like we all have a very specific type of humor. It's kind of like something out of Adventure Time or the regular show or something like that. And he points over, there's a TGI Fridays we're driving by. And my buddy says, guys, look, it's Tiggy Fridays. And I'm just like, I'm so over it. I respond in like the most like low energy, like, guys, look, it's Tigidy, blah, blah, and just go into random gibberish. And my buddies in the backseat are just like, what did you just say? Like, what? Where did that come from? And we brought my brother home. We hook up Smash Bros. 4. And the first thing that comes to mind for because we all at that point we're all choosing usernames and like the gamer tags for the matches. I think that night we were having a 99 stock match. Ooh. And the first one, let me repeat that. The last one to survive on that stage won. And the person with the username Tigidy won that match. I took it. There's Instagram photo proof on my brother's Nintendo fan account. So, yeah, dude, that he reminded me of that. I almost forgot about that in terms of the 99 stock match. But yeah, that's the origin of it.
Cool. Yeah, I was wondering, like, why is everybody saying Tiggy Fridays in there? It's like then you get to that part of the story. It's like that makes more sense.
There we go. Yeah, it was. It's kind of crazy how it all came about, and kind of how it all stuck. You know. Yeah, it goes back to Smash 4, and I really got on Twitch because of Smash 4. I didn't even make an account until I think it was Christmas Eve. If you look back in my on the user info, you'll see it was December 24th or something when I first made my username. And even before that, even before I had an account, I would lurk in Smash tournaments, whether it was Melee, Smash 4 that just came out, and really that hype for that new game brought me to Twitch. And that's kind of where it all started.
So I can probably venture from what you have said. So how long have you been streaming then?
So even though I made my account back in 2014, I didn't press the live button until about mid-April 2018.
Oh, wow.
I had been watching channels like Lyric, Mega 64, that YouTube channel had their own Twitch 24/7 live stream. I had always watched Twitch during my lunch break in the dining hall between classes. And I had such a weird class schedule where I was the only one in the dining hall. There was like a small handful of other students there, but I grabbed my sandwich, I got my hot chocolate, and I think this was in between, like, you know, other classes were I taking. Oh, regardless, I was sitting there with my headphones in, watching all these live streamers while devouring my lunch. And that is what got me through college. I didn't deal with live TV. Like, network television. I couldn't do it anymore. Even that was what I was auditioning for. I just preferred to watch streams, and and that's kind of how it was until early 2018, where I was like, you know what, I have all this equipment already, even though my PC is kind of like a potato right now. But I was like, you know what, let's try it out. I love these games, and it's something I would be doing off stream regardless. And plus, not many of my IRL friends play Animal Crossing anymore, so let's see if there's anyone else that's still playing just as much as me. So
little did you know.
Bro, I had no idea.
All right, real quick, Rosie says Tigidy is slang word for a small thing that doesn't have a specific name in French Canadian, and that's why I thought you were from Quebec, because of that word.
I did play hockey for about 10 years of my life. I was a hockey player growing up. So, Canadian sport, Canadian somewhat. Nah, that's a joke, but
then you have, if you want to pick one Zelda game and one Dragon Quest game to remaster, which ones would you pick?
Oh. You know what? The thing is, when it comes to Zelda, strangely enough, I'm okay without them having a remaster. I think Link's Awakening was inevitable. I think that's a very unique Zelda game, especially even when it first came out, in regards to the soundtrack and the type of story that it told. It was very different from previous Zelda games, and even current Zelda games, now that I think about it. I'm kind of okay with them really not remastering any Zelda stuff for right now. Because even with the 3DS remaster of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, I kind of prefer the older graphics, the older style. I know they still remain very loyal to the sound effects and the music. But I think I'm good. Maybe, I think it would be pretty cool to revisit the type of gameplay that Zelda 2 brought to the table. Like, that was, I think it's one of the only Zelda games that has an experience counter, where you can gain experience while taking down enemies. And I think that would be pretty cool if they revisited that type of aspect. So maybe that one, like a side-scrolling Zelda action fighter, that'd be pretty cool. But for Dragon Quest, easy Dragon Quest 3. 3 is, I think, a huge point in the series where they started to gain their footing, the foundation of where the series was going to go. And I think it's so important to know, for especially new players, to see where the series kind of began and really got to see its how it grew to where it is now. That was the stepping point. And imagine a full HD Erdrick with a whole, like, you can customize your clan and stuff like that. Okay, I could go into a whole thing, but definitely Dragon Quest 3. Yeah.
And then you had a bunch of people saying that they were so happy you made the decision to stream, with a lot of people reciprocating that as well, or saying that as well. So,
hey guys, you're trying to make me blush? Come on, come on, guys. Thank you.
Okay, so what drew you to streaming, and what do you like best about it?
The thing that initially brought me to streaming and finally taking that first step was to really recapture that feeling that I had playing in the game room back home, hanging out with a group of my buddies, playing Nintendo Land. That game stands out to me, where we got everyone together. It was like, imagine like a Discord voice chat. Like the closest thing that I can compare it to currently is like a Discord voice chat call. But that feeling that I had with all my good buddies, all my friends, I wanted to bring that to people online. That is something I wanted to capture, and I'm still trying to capture. And because I know that there are always ways to grow and adapt and to bring something new to the table, but that was the foundation. And I'm happy that Animal Crossing. I'm happy that I kind of found different ways to bring Animal Crossing on screen first, because that one really stands out to me in terms of playing with friends. I know now that it wasn't the first one to play with Wi-Fi, because Wild World was the very first one to play with friends in multiplayer. And to capture that, especially with a game like Animal Crossing, that a lot of my buddies did play when New Leaf came out. But at that point in 2018, no one played online. I couldn't convince them to boot up their 3DSs anymore. I think at that point they were busy with their Switches, which I couldn't blame them. But yeah, that was kind of where it all came about. I wanted to bring that and share that with others. What I didn't realize is that it would reach around the world. That it still kind of baffles me to this day, just how the Twitch is a part of communities around this entire planet, which is still kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, bringing that feel of being surrounded by friends and creating memories like that. I'll never forget the memory of me and my buddies playing Nintendo Land, but it was a mini game with Mario Chase. It's a mini game where you've got, I think, 4 players that play on the Wiimotes, and they're all it's like a game of keep away, and you got 4 players running around as Mario. Oh, let me rephrase that. 4 players running around as Toads, and you got the 1 player on the gamepad playing as Mario. And Mario has to tackle all the other players. It's basically like hide and seek, but it's like much more intense. And I will never forget, every time we play that game, we will be yelling and hollering like we were watching a football game, dude. It was so much fun. And that kind of stuff I want to bring to streams and to, kind of remind people everywhere that, like, hey, we can still have this being separated. Especially during times like this where we have no choice but to stay separated.
Right.
It's important for me, I want to solidify that and to remind others that, like, hey, we can still have fun during these crappy times right now. So.
What do you dislike about streaming? Is there anything? What downsides have you come across in your time?
Downside is the internet connection. I think any streamer can say that. The downside is, honestly, no joke, one that stands out to me is taking certain messages out of context. I feel like and I'm trying to get better at this too, is reading certain comments in chat and taking them in a way where I just want to be able to understand everybody, and understand where they're coming from. And initially, it was really hard for me right off the bat. I wanted to be very careful how I presented myself, and that I wasn't reading anything out of context. And I looked for the best in most viewers in stream when I first started. But it's also very careful to be aware that, look, people aren't always there for your best interest.
Right.
People can troll. People can. There's nothing wrong with trolling, really, but it's how there's a line.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of viewers earlier when I first started wanted to cross that line. And I'm thankful to say now that I had more trolls when I first started that crossed the line more than I have any trolls now. And I'm thankful to have a community where we are all understanding. People know. I feel like people know how I'm going to react a certain way if there are trolls in chat now. And because when I first started, if there was someone like that, it got to me. It had a lingering impact, which was not good to have as a streamer. It's so important to see that, be aware of it, move that out of your chat, and get right back into it. And now I'm thankful that there is an understanding with everyone in streams. So yeah, that was a huge that was a discouragement when I first started, like dealing with so many people that just wanted to say like just outlandish things and try to get in your head. But once all that aside, it's worth all of that hardship. It's worth all of those struggles initially. But
all right, so this is a random question, but there's been talk of wagons in the chat. And I probably shouldn't bring it up, but so what's the deal with the wagons?
So I can explain. So I think this goes all the way back to the birthday stream back in late August. That was the first stream where I introduced Just Dance. That was heavily requested from a lot of members in the community. And yes, you may be seeing those emotes in chat right now.
Yeah.
But it only further solidified the presence of the wagon meme when I brought in Ring Fit Adventure, which is a game that I still play to this day, and I need to play each and every day because I before quarantine I used to be active a lot. Before quarantine, I used to work as a dog walker, and I was very active, walking about 15 miles average a day.
Oh, wow.
And so that was my way of like, I could eat whatever I want and just walk it off the next day. It's fine. I don't know. I burn off the calories easy. But now, staying at home, it's important for me to remind myself to stay active. And I'm lucky I have Ring Fit Adventure to, people can say all they want about the art style and like the gameplay itself.
I enjoy it.
It is going to work. Dude,
it's not easy. It is not easy.
Everyone thought. I initially thought that like, oh, it's whatever. It's like a peripheral. All right, fine. It's a gimmick. No, dude, it is tense. Like depending what difficulty level you set it, you're gonna need some time to recover after that one, bro.
Absolutely.
But that's kind of where the wagon came from, I think. And it just nurtured into a meme of the channel that it's a healthy meme, I guess.
All right, moving on. Who are some of your favorite streamers to watch currently?
Yeah, currently, okay. I feel like it's important for me to start off by saying that I was always a lurker when I first started watching streams. But the streams that I kind of leaned towards when I first started watching were New Leaf. They were Animal Crossing streams. The first one I remember watching was Vine Sauce. When he was playing Animal Crossing, I was like, dude, this is just the best stream to just sit back, relax, take everything in, and see what this clown is putting his villagers through. And some other Animal Crossing streams that I followed was Newt and Misha Crossing. Those channels were the first ones that were like we love decorating. Like they put so much heart and care into their towns, and I was just like, yo, this is a whole different level. Like I just could not compare to anything like that. And but now currently I'm watching really a lot of my friends in streams that I've met through chat and raiding other channels. I'm currently watching my friend Ashton and Maury play Animal Crossing, and recently honestly this past week I've kind of delved more into other creators, not just on Twitch but on YouTube, and seeing their takes on islands and decorating not only their town but their houses. And My Stale Cupcakes, Misha's videos as well. Simply Press Start, as you may know. They all have a huge impact on me and how I go about building up my town. And it's exciting to see how much the AC community has grown just within these past few months. But yeah, I'd say also my boy Bandit Yoshi. I freaking love that man. He's one of my good buddies. He's another streamer where it's just good to sit back, relax, and just watch the clownery happen live on stream, and it's a good time. But yeah, those are some of the channels I'm watching right now.
All right, what kind of goals and aspirations do you have for your channel?
The goals and aspirations I have for Tigidy as a channel on Twitch, I think
That could include YouTube and stuff as well, like growing into other avenues.
I think as a whole, I want people down the road to associate the name Tigidy with an environment that is it's a perfect balance of casual, chill, easygoing discussions with a balance of chaotic humor and humor that doesn't exactly kind of what we were talking about. It doesn't cross a line. It's something that we can all kind of go back and forth. And I think it's important to me to keep that balance of, a chill, easygoing community, being able to talk one-on-one, balanced with humor that we can throw back at each other in a healthy way. That I'm thankful that I was able. Someone actually, my buddy Josh actually brought it up in Discord, not too long ago. Actually, he's like, it's a perfect balance of like chill vibes with the Elmo flame, like the fire meme. It's like that perfect balance. And I was like, you know what, dude? I never even thought of it that way until he brought it up. And I'm thankful I was able to capture something like that. And I think that's what I want people to associate with the name Tigidy and the channel itself. And that's something where I want to focus and nurture through my own content. I've recently tried to delve deeper into YouTube and uploading more videos for that. But it's still, I'm still trying to find my, what stamp I can make, what presence I can make on YouTube that stands out from others. I'm still trying to crack that code. But the answer is within myself, really. I need to keep experimenting and finding ways to make future videos. How do I say it? Like, obviously not just watchable, but a place where people can return to and see that the example of the chill community with the
Elmo.
the crazy humor, healthy, exactly, yeah. But yeah, it's something that I want to build throughout all the platforms I'm still trying to delve more into as well, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, even TikTok. But that's a whole different ballgame. But I think it's exciting to me. I know it's so easy for streamers to get overwhelmed with that type of mentality of having to, I gotta put more stuff out for this, I gotta tweet more stuff, I gotta make more videos. But I think what's important, and it's kind of been hitting me this past week, I kind of have reminded myself why I've been on Twitch in the first place. For example, a lot of streams that I've been watching recently, I think it's easy for streamers to get in the mentality of watching streams as a streamer. I think that's kind of where I've had myself. That's at least my internal mentality on it. But recently, I've kind of reminded myself that it's important to watch other streamers as a viewer, despite being a streamer.
Right.
And I think it's so easy for other creators to forget that mindset. Like, I'm watching your streams because I like your stuff. I'm watching your streams because, they help me get through the day. I think a lot of, it kind of goes back to, how other, some of the, how do I say it? Like issues in chat? Not really, but I know people like other streamers that say like, "Hey, I'm new to your channel. I also stream." I think they're missing the point.
Yeah.
I think it's so important for others to realize that like watch a stream because you like their stuff. Don't watch a stream because you want them to watch your stream.
Right.
It's so easy for especially newer members of the Twitch community to get in that mindset. But once you like, no, I'm just watching because I'm having a good time, man. That's what's important for me, anyway. But what was the question again? I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry.
Well, it started with goals and aspirations for the channel.
Okay.
And,
okay. You know what? Honestly, that I think that sums it up. Yeah.
You might have to go back and read it later. I've been glancing, but the entire like chat right now is like people how they find you and how happy they are that they found you. So there's a lot of mushy stuff in there. You might have to go back and check later.
Guys, come on. Thanks, guys.
So next, what is some advice that you'd give to streamers looking to grow their channel? You kind of had a little bit of that towards the end there.
Exactly, and I thank you for transitioning to that. Yeah, I'd say if you're a streamer starting out, watch other streams as a viewer. Don't forget that like the true kind of friendships you can make through Twitch, I think is so important. It's a great way to start to meet these people and get to know them on a certain level that I don't think you would get if you said in chat like, "Hey, I stream too." Whoa, isn't that crazy? Like, all jokes aside, I think starting out right off the bat, stream what makes you happy.
Absolutely.
I feel like that's kind of obvious at this point, but stream what you think will make you happy, because if people see that you're happy, if people see that you're excited, they will want to be a part of that. Again, one of the reasons why I've started is it's really with Nintendo, I get a little too excited when it comes to certain announcements and new games that they bring to the table. This goes back to me and my brother watching like G4 on, the Nintendo press conferences. We watched that like it was a Super Bowl, man. Like, we had popcorn, we had snacks and everything while watching those, and that excitement I'm kind of I want to bring to my streams and my content. And if you take people along for the ride, they'll see how much fun you're having. And at least to me, I'm generally not faking that. I know it's so, I feel like it's so easy for people to see like my reactions, be like, "Yo, he's like way over the top. He's like, yo, this dude's crazy." And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I'm obsessed with this stuff. Like it's something that I've tried to encapsulate. And the whole point of me saying this is to really stream what makes you happy. Stream what you think is fun and will help get you through the day. And people will see that and they'll want to join along for the ride.
So that leads me into just some questions I've been thinking about because I'm personally curious. So correct me if I'm wrong, you're partnered, right?
Yes.
How long did it take you from when you started till you got partnered?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm very thankful that I was able to reach partner status in the first place. The way I look at it, I never would have gotten partnered if it wasn't for everyone in the community. That is something that I will always make sure that people understand. I think I first reached the partner achievement like the let me rephrase that. The path to partner back in late February, early March.
This year?
Of this year, of
Okay.
2020, yeah. And it was a long process, and I was denied multiple times. But I think what's so important for other streamers to realize, once you're partnered, there's not really that much that changes. There is a kind of weight taking off your shoulder, but I think what's important is to understand that you shouldn't, how do I say this? You should be streaming to make good content. And the more good content you put out, the more likely you are to getting partner. That being said, I'm still learning and finding new ways to adapt and make my streams better, more engaging, and to keep viewers and friends excited and want to be there for the ride. It's something where I think it's a trap that a lot of streamers fall into. Like, they're broken that they were denied this month, or they gotta keep striving to reach that average number. But that'll come. It's something that you should not get yourself down on, because that's a very easy trap to fall into, and it's a trap that has the potential to keep you there. And what people can't forget is that, like, that'll come soon. That's a goal, but that's not the goal.
Right.
And so yeah, I think it's so important to remember that.
So at what point in time did it hit you that's like, we might be, this is actually something that might happen? Like, if it's not a goal, if it's not like the goal, at what point was this like, wow, we might, partners is a possibility in the near future?
Yeah. I think back in early March, I made the decision to leave New York City. And this is, how do I say this? This isn't something that I've really brought up on stream, I don't think. I made the decision to leave my full-time job because of everything going on in the city at the time, going on in the world at the time. Yeah. And I'm thankful I did, and I don't think I would have been able to do that without the presence that I had on Twitch. That's why I honestly I'm always sure to express to everyone that truly how thankful I am that I was able to make such a move at the timing that I did. That at that point, once I moved out of the city, is when I kind of said, I think I did bring it up in stream as I was packing up everything from my apartment, that yeah, I was going to take a crack at making this full time. It kind of just happened. I'm still kind of baffled that it happened in such a way. But I think it's important to adapt and see, try things out. A part of me was kind of, I didn't really think about, is this really going to work? I mean, is this full-time thing really going to, be sustainable? Will I be able to make a living from this? And I'm thankful with a lot of people that support me, not just in the community, but in real life, that have my back and that want to, remind me that, hey, try it while you're here. You've got something, and the thing is, put your 100% into it. And I wouldn't have it any other way at this point. I know there's still a lot of ways that I can improve myself in terms of scheduling and time management, because I feel like a lot of streamers can attest that like it's easy to procrastinate on certain things, but it's I feel like a huge milestone when we reach the point where we have a set schedule each day, a business schedule, and that's something that I'm still trying to work on and clarify for myself and create and forge in a way. I think forging is the best way to put it, because it takes a lot of work. I don't think people realize how much of a task streaming is. Of course, it's what you make of it.
And it's not just what you see on stream.
Dude, exactly. It's, despite how easy it may come across, there's a lot more that goes behind all of it.
Yeah. All those new people you say coming in, they think you just sit in front of a screen and you say hi to people and, hey, guess what? I'm a millionaire. Like you said, I think your success comes from a lot of what you said, putting 100% into it. So, and I think that comes out pretty clear.
I appreciate that, man. It's not that if people thinking that they can just press the live button and talk to people in chat and think they're I'm gonna make money off of this, they're gonna have a rude awakening, bro. but that's not to say that they can't, grow with it. That's not to say that they, if once they make that connection, it's really what they put into it. It's once they realize that, like, oh, do I want to try this? I've known a lot of my friends in real life that have tried streaming, and they've learned that, like, yeah, I can't really keep up with this. I can't really keep up with chat and balance. It's not for everybody. I think it's important to realize that too. But putting in the hours and experimenting, I think, will go a long way in trying things out.
All right. So, what are some interests and hobbies outside of gaming that you have?
Oh,
are there any?
Yeah. The moment you asked that, I was like, dude, it unlocked like a part of my brain. Like, I know I've been, especially with staying home, I haven't really done as much as I would have liked to. And now that I'm kind of out of New York City, I'm that much closer to doing things that I would have loved to do on my free time. I really enjoy hiking. I really like the great outdoors. I think one of my biggest regrets these past few months is not giving myself the time to go out there and be reacquainted with the wilderness. I used to love playing hockey. I love watching sports. I haven't really watched as much recently, because the truth is, I honestly love looking up video gaming news. That's honestly one of my hobbies. Following up with the industry. Mostly with Nintendo, but one of my major hobbies is video games. It's what I've been playing. It's why I've been playing Animal Crossing this much off stream. I love seeing what changes are coming about, because there are a lot of huge changes, not just with the gaming industry, but with the streaming industry. I really delve into the certain headlines, but also do some research on those headlines.
Yes.
And,
follow up.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of headline titles can be a little twisted in certain ways just to get that click.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoy the great outdoors, and but recently it really hasn't been much of a healthy balance between outdoors and gaming. It's mostly been gaming.
I think we can all relate. All right, so for where can everybody find you in your various platforms?
Yes, everyone can find me on YouTube and Twitch by the name of Tigidy. as well as TikTok, I think with Tigidy, but also on Twitter and Instagram _Tigidy.
For anybody in Twitch here live with us, I put the links in chat for his Twitch and his YouTube. And then if you're watching on YouTube, they'll be in the section description below.
Thank you, man.
Right.
I appreciate that.
Of course. Let's go ahead and move on from our first area to the second. So you wanted to talk about Animal Crossing, how it's kind of evolved onto Twitch, as well as podcasts and Nintendo podcasts. So what did you want to talk about specifically?
Yeah, oh man, kind of looking back to the Animal Crossing community as a whole when I first started streaming. Yeah, it's pretty easy for one to imagine that it was a very, very different place. When I first, how do I say it? Dipped my feet into the AC community. It was very, very niche at the time. At that point, New Leaf has been out for about 5, almost 6 years when I first started, and I think it was even a few years after the most recent update, the Welcome Amiibo update, which was huge, bro. That changed everything in New Leaf. And kind of looking back when it first started, it was very close-knit. It was a place where, the bigger streamers and bigger community members of that game have already had a huge impact when the game first started. And they were kind of like the pillars of the AC community then, and honestly still are now. Like, I don't know why I'm putting it in past tense. And I looked up to them to see that, like, wow, this is how they play it. I play it a very different way. And it was kind of refreshing to see their take. And even when I first started, I was very, how do I say it? I felt like I had a level of professionalism, but to a fault. I was very careful with what I said. Excuse me. I think it's safe. I'm still PG now, but in a way that's not. I'm trying to find a balance for all ages, and that's kind of what I've tried to maintain throughout this entire thing. Because Nintendo games are for all ages, and it's something I've tried to encapsulate when I first started and up until now. But PG in a way that, like, we can still have a one-to-one conversation. I'm not gonna, like, I'll censor my words, but not my context of those words, I guess. I hope that makes sense.
No, that's a good way to put it.
But seeing how the AC community has grown, I'm honestly thankful, man. Seeing so many new players, because, dude, it was so difficult to stream New Leaf when it first started. Well, no, really, it's difficult to stream New Leaf in general, because you had to invest in either a 3DS graphics card, which was like however expensive it was. I think it's actually like highway robbery right now, dude. And it kind of always has been. You just need to find the right ones. Or you had to jump through some hoops to get the screen capture up there in the first place. Looking back, my very first New Leaf stream was I took this very face cam and aimed it at my 3DS screen. And I was like, you know what? I'll do whatever it takes just to, dip my feet in to see, what players are thinking of this game and how they, what they would want to see. It was very niche, and it was honestly, in a way, kind of nurturing in a sense, if that's a weird way to put it. I was able to have a much easier one-to-one conversation with everybody in chat, and therefore I feel like a type of connection where it's a little bit more difficult to maintain during New Horizons streams. I even mentioned this the other night. I always wanted to keep that sense of communicating with everyone in chat, despite chat moving at a speed that it is now. It's something that looking back, I do kind of miss about New Leaf streams, but in reality, I wouldn't have it any other way, because it's still something I try to capture to this day. And something that I never want to lose, honestly, despite how fast or how slow chat would be moving. But yeah, I know you're familiar with Simply Press Start and Hyrule Gaming Group.
Yes.
Back when New Leaf was the prominent AC game at the time, what were your thoughts on the New Leaf community at that time, before the whole New Horizon wave hit, in a way?
I don't know that I have a lot to say on it, because I played New Leaf somewhat early when it came out, and I played for a year or two, and then I just stopped playing. I didn't start watching New Leaf on Twitch until probably a few months before New Horizon was coming out. That's when I found people like Crystal and HGG, where they're just like, you know, they're playing these games they probably played forever, but are suddenly getting all this attention because the new Animal Crossing is coming out. So it was crazy to see that. I guess I'm part of the boom that went up of people jumping into Animal Crossing at that point. So it's been interesting and fun to watch, and meet people like you. I think Amnesty Alien, I think is their name, is somebody else who does a lot of Animal Crossing. So yeah, it's been a ride.
She's so awesome. Yeah, it's kind of crazy to see how creators have grown with the series and the things that we've all had to adapt to, and with the changing gameplay, with the change of style and the feel to these games. I think it kind of hit me when we were looking at all the most recent PAX East footage of Animal Crossing, and seeing all the pictures on the show floor of the Nintendo booth, all decked out like an Animal Crossing town. I'm like, yo, this is real. This is actually happening. And I think that kind of time period between late January into early March, just before the game came out, like, yo, this is nuts. The new Direct just dropped while PAX was going on. It was kind of a point where I was like, dang. I loved Animal Crossing all this time, but a lot of people are seeing the charm of it and really hopping on board. And I'm like, thank you guys for realizing this. Thank you guys for wanting to be a part of this, and to grow with this game, and to share experiences together. Like, it's because at New Leaf, we all knew what to expect. We all worked on our towns. Like, oh, this is what mine looks like. I'm gonna start my 6th town. I'm gonna have you at that point you could just buy the different games and have a different town. But now with New Horizons, you have to buy a whole new Switch in order to have a different town. Which, I gotta say, Nintendo's pretty smart to do that, because they're making a lot of money doing so. But not the best for us, hardcore fans.
Right.
Then I say that, but I have always kept just one town for each game, and tried to master that one, and try to see what I can really build from that. It's cool to see how new Animal Crossing fans are realizing that, yo, there's a lot of heart to this game that a lot of people may not realize. I would try to explain to my family. It's so wait, what game do you play again? What exactly do you do in said Animal Crossing? It's always difficult for me to explain.
I water flowers and I dig up fossils.
Yeah. It's it's a simulation game where, you talk with animal neighbors and you enjoy life. But I think a lot of new players are really catching on and discovering that there is a a lot of charm. That despite not as much from previous installments in the series, but they're seeing the potential of what it will become after all these updates. And when they eventually drop, which hopefully is pretty soon, within the next week, with the new late fall update. But we'll see.
So I want to get your thoughts on this. So we'll never know the actual answer, but this happened because of the date pushed back from 2019 to 2020. It got pushed into basically the start of the pandemic. What kind of effect do you think that's had? I mean, it seems like it's helped Animal Crossing boom because everybody's suddenly stuck at home. What are they going to do? Now we have Animal Crossing.
It is so true, man. Oh man, looking back at that first Nintendo Direct where they announced Animal Crossing for 2019, that was when my PC wasn't even able to screen share a browser video. I couldn't play a YouTube video while live. That's how much of a potato my PC was. So I never had that reaction recorded. But looking at that, like, yo, new Animal Crossing, bro, all this time, like, we were so excited. But once we found out, as the months went on into early 2019, they're like, yo, we're not hearing much about this game. They're not saying anything. What is happening? And we knew we would hear about it at E3. I feel like a lot of people expected that there would be an AC booth at the show floor. But I was thankful enough to be there at the convention and see on the big screen Animal Crossing March 2020. It's my heart sank. A part of me, I feel like we all kind of knew that was going to be a delay, but the truth is, I'm okay with all delays. I'm okay with it. I know, yeah, it might be a little, discouraging at first. Like, yo, when's this going to come out? We're, what's happening? What's taking so long? It's so worth it. I think Nintendo knew that they were going to make New Horizons a game they would update throughout the months to come. I think that's it. That fits something like Animal Crossing, but I know a lot of people have argued that with the small amount of NPCs and the small amount of dialogue and content, in a way, in terms of what. A lot of people are saying that New Horizons is missing so much, which is actually kind of true. They're not wrong. I will say, though, it's something that Nintendo has been planning for a while, I think.
Absolutely.
I think they tried to market this game as a deserted island getaway. That's exactly what it is. And a lot of new players are discovering they have that feel initially, but us previous players of older players of the previous games are like, yo, so much is missing, dude. There's so much that isn't here, and I hear a lot of new players being like, yo, wait, really? Like, how much is? Are you serious? And I think Nintendo planned this all along, which they have the right to, and I can see where they're coming from, but they reached that goal of bringing new players in. They hit that milestone. They did it. I don't think they even could have predicted the timing and what else was happening around the world.
Right.
But I think what they discovered is that they're able to nurture the newer players at the expense of providing older players, long-time players, with the heart and soul that they grew to love about the series. And I think that's because of the deserted island. That's really it. And for that, like, hey, we got what they told us.
We did.
In a way. So I'm excited to see where it goes, though. I think there's going to be a lot of changes, hopefully. With even the name New Horizons, there's always going to be something new, I feel. So.
All right. So switching it over, you also wanted to talk about podcasts, more specifically Nintendo podcasts. So what about that did you want to discuss?
Dude, I got to say, and thank you for allowing me to kind of touch on this, and it's something I even mentioned just briefly before we went live on the show. When I was all throughout middle school. Okay, let me first start out by saying I first got into podcasts when I got my very first iPod Nano. It was the red one, like I got it for Christmas, and my parents were able to order it, so it had my name on the back. I'm like, yo, what? This is amazing! And so I went on iTunes and I was like, oh, what's this podcast thing? These little radio shows? Oh, I don't listen to live radio, but it's like, no, these are episodes. They're radio episodes. I'm like, oh, that's cool. There's like news, NPR. Oh, that's boring. So I was like, you know what? Wait a second. Because I was always delving through the old Nintendo forums. Back when it had like Star Fox on the forums panel and scrolling through like all the new updates and the Club Nintendo rewards back then. And I wasn't an active member. I was just a lurker, pretty much. I feel like I can use that term with a bunch of things in terms of like different Nintendo communities back then. But I always followed up with all those forums and hearing what other people felt and the issues or, positive discussions that they wanted to share. I'm like, you know what? I wish I had this in audio form. Like, do they have this as like a show type media genre? And I looked up some Nintendo podcasts to listen to while I was doing household chores, like shoveling the deck or mowing the lawn or raking leaves. And because it's something that I spent a lot of time as a kid trying to help out and gain some allowance money as a kid. Those Nintendo podcasts helped me pass the time. And the old ones I would listen to were Infendo Radio, Radio Free Nintendo. I know that those are the two that stand out to me the most. But also like the IGN
Nintendo Voice Chat podcast.
Yeah. And those ones were like my weekly dose of everything Nintendo. That was my way of keeping up with all the news, all of the questionable choices, and the interesting choices of games being put out for the WiiWare and the Nintendo eShop at the time. And I was like, wow, there's a lot of interesting choices being made by Nintendo, but also ones that really stood out to me. A moment that really will always stay with me is a lot of the members on Infendo Radio discussing it's not a brand new game, the new release of the game Chrono Trigger for the Nintendo DS. I think this was early 2008 or even late 2007. They're like, guys, everyone, as of mid 2008, Square Enix is re-releasing a special version of Chrono Trigger. And they went into like how this game like changed their perspective on JRPGs, and I'm like, yo, what is this? Then they said the art designer was the dude that created Dragon Ball Z, and I was like, yo, are you serious? Like, that was the tipping point. And I'm like, I gotta try this out. They're like praising this game. I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. And that game left a mark. Realizing that I was shown the impact of this game through some guys that I'd never met before, but I had trusted their word. They knew what they were talking about. They were, in a way, they lived in this environment, this community, and hearing their thoughts and their passion behind this game, I'm like, yo, I'll pick it up. Let's do it. And it impacted my entire gaming lifestyle and interests down the road. It's the reason why I'm such a huge Dragon Quest fan today, because it was by the same guys, and they inspired me to delve into a whole new series I never even would have expected. And I'm thankful that those shows existed and were that voice to like to convince me to try something new. Because I feel like I was always that one as a kid. You know, all my buddies from high school and even middle school, like, guys, I was always trying to convince them to play the same games that I was playing. It's like, guys, you need to try this out. Like, it's so much fun. I've delved into all the reviews. Like, everyone's loving it. This is why I love it, dude. Yeah, I cried. Like, stuff like that. You know, I try to get my buddies. They're like, yeah, sure, okay, whatever. But a small handful of them actually did pick it up, and they're like, bro, thank you. This changed my whole perspective on this genre. And that, I kind of thinking about it, it's what keeps me wanting to stream and try new things and play different games. But that's kind of the reason why I wanted to bring it up, was to discuss like the true impact they had on me. And it wasn't until like I was invited on these on podcasts in the first place, man. And I thank you for that. Absolutely. Because these are the type of podcasts that I would listen to growing up. And I really appreciate just the opportunity. I know it sounds really cheesy, but it's true. I think it has more of an impact than podcasters may expect. So,
well, I can only hope. But thank you for sharing your perspective and your history with the podcast with us, Tiggs. I used to listen to a whole bunch. I'm more of a PlayStation guy, even though I'm like 60% PlayStation, 40% Nintendo. So I'm very much into Nintendo as well, but PlayStation is my main focus. So, but MVC is definitely one I used to listen to a lot from IGN.
Oh yeah, Jose Otero, I miss that man.
Yeah, the crew's all changed now.
Yeah.
All right, so we will move on from that to the gaming news. I haven't got a ton of chance to see what was going on, but the big stuff is obviously the new consoles. Xbox Series X and S came out on Tuesday. PlayStation 5 came out on Thursday. Yeah, I mean, I've gotten my hands on a PS5. Loving it so far. I haven't even played a game that really takes advantage of it yet. Like Miles Morales, I haven't delved into it, but it's such a great console. The controller is such an improvement. Do you have anything outside of your Switch, or is it just the Switch?
I just have my Switch. Yeah. I know. My brother was always more of the he always delved into Xbox 360 and PS4 when they dropped in prices, I think. But I always played a lot of the PlayStation games through him. I never had my own system that wasn't Nintendo. But I was thankful he had those ones so I could experience like The Last of Us or, you know, BioShock. Aside from my Switch, I just use my PC for the most part, but I'm always very careful not to download huge games on the system, knowing that I got to stream from it too. I don't want to slow it down any more than it already is. But seeing a lot of the new generation consoles, it's kind of crazy, man.
It really makes me wonder where Nintendo's gonna go.
Exactly. Like seeing all these huge powerhouses and these, you know, the horsepower of these systems, I'm like, a part of me thinks like, well, how is Nintendo going to answer this? But in a way, I feel like Nintendo kind of already has. And by that I mean they are doubling down on the home console handheld hybrid. And that is why I will always go with Nintendo, because I think it was the moment when Monster Hunter 3 came out for both the 3DS and the Wii U. I think that was one of the earliest games where it tried to capture that handheld console hybrid feel. And it was pretty sick. Like you could transfer your save file from your 3DS to the Wii U and play on the big screen. I'm like, yo, I'm not going to buy a Wii U for myself, but this is cool. Like, I wish more games had this, and then boom.
So here's a question: do you think Nintendo is almost stuck now, where if future consoles aren't all portable and home, that people would be like, "What's going on?" Or do you think they'll ever break out of it, or this is how it's going to be from now on?
I think, you know what, and I think they've done it before too. I think they will always have a healthy balance between home console and handheld. I think for the foreseeable future, we're going to have the handheld console hybrid, but I mean, maybe down the road when they see the potential, when they see, especially maybe Smash Bros being more competitive and needing a more sophisticated online infrastructure, I think in order to stay relevant, they might have to double down on a planted home console option. And I want to make sure I say option because I think they'll always have a handheld regardless. But it's also important for them to not forget the competitive, the very, how do I say it, hardcore in a way. I hate saying hardcore with Nintendo because I know they've dabbled mostly with casual with the Wii, but they're realizing how important the hardcore audience is. So I'm excited to see where they take it.
I am as well. I don't think there's rumors of their next iteration, kind of like the Lite, going kind of a pro version, but we'll see. Only time will tell on that one.
Exactly, man. I would love a Switch Pro. I honestly have a Switch in box for backup. I haven't opened it yet. I'm having it as a part of my collection right now, but it's really in case this one breaks because I'm terrified. I always treat my consoles like they're my child. But if there's a Switch Pro announced, that's the one I'm going with. I'll play the crap out of it.
All right. Is there anything else recently you could think of that you might want to talk about, or?
I feel like I've been talking too much, man.
No, you're good. It's all right. So with that, we'll switch to the wrap up. So anybody has any other questions, feel free to throw them in chat now. There was brief mention, actually multiple mentions of Tigidy, or is that another troll thing?
I saw Rosemary spamming that in chat.
Yeah, she was.
It's another joke. It's like it's equivalent to wagon. So it's basically the same thing.
Okay.
Rosemary.
I thought so with how it was being repeated, but I'm not in the know.
And I'm sorry. I should have mentioned Rosemary. You gotta take it. We get it. We gotta take it down a notch, okay?
But also, I'll take this time to say thank you, Tiggs, for joining me today. It was wonderful to get to know you better. Your community, bring them over. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time.
Chris, thank you for the opportunity. I'm so glad we got to have this talk and share this with everybody. And it means the world, buddy. Thank you.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. So we're going to go to the ending screen for here. People live on Twitch, we're going to go to the ending. Then we'll be right back for YouTube. We'll catch you next month with the next guest. Take care, everybody.
Bye, guys.